Alright, what's up everybody? So I'm gonna do a Yeni Dunya watermelon harvest today. Yesterday I harvested the cream of Saskatchewan. I need to get to posting the video. Um, and here's a Yeni Dunya fruit that was stunted. It was stunted in growth. It wasn't growing as much as the other Yeni Dunyas, so I pulled that one off. So I pulled off one cream of Saskatchewan yesterday, and here's one more that I have left. And you can see this vine is beginning to dry out right here. But what I'm more so looking for is this to dry out. Now with cream of Saskatchewan, I realized that I can't just depend on this drying out a little bit. I actually need this to dry up and allow the melon to fall from the vine by itself. Once the melon reaches a point where it can fall from the vine by itself, then cream of Saskatchewan should have a decent sugar content in it. Other than that, if you harvest that melon before that umbilical dries up, it won't be sweet, I promise you. Now, people will argue, go by the tendril sign, go by the tendril sign. Well, I mean, the tendril is dry on all of my melons. And when I tell you, you will be waiting a month plus after this tendril dries for your melons to ripen up. Believe me, you will be waiting a month plus. This tendril has been dry for at least a month. I mean, at least a month. And as you can see, this melon is still sitting on the vine, and for good reason, because it's not sweet right now. Now, the one that I picked yesterday definitely wasn't sweet either. Okay, so that's that introduction. Yeni Dunya is over here. These are 4 Yeni Dunya watermelon vines inside of here. So all this is Yeni Dunya watermelon vines. So I harvested one Yeni Dunya about 13 days ago. And that one was beginning to turn red, but it still wasn't red yet. So here's some more Yeni Dunya melons forming. So I harvested one, this will be a second one. And just to show you, a majority of my melons actually have dried tendrils at this point. I'm telling you, I do not go by that dry tendril sign. So here's the tendril right here. You can see it's curling around this little stick, but that's the tendril. You can see it's coming off the base right here, and the melon is connected. I can get this leaf out the way. The melon is connected right here. It's connected right here. The tendril is right here. So I'm not pulling that until a month from now. And just to show you, that umbilical is still very much green. It's still very green. So that's nowhere near ready for harvest. Now this one is closer to harvest, but this one also has a green umbilical. But you can see dry spots are beginning to form. If you can see that, the black spot right here, that's what's gonna eventually take over the whole stem, and the stem will dry out completely and remove itself from the melon. Some sticky stuff on here. I didn't know they could release sap. I didn't know melons could release sap. You see that shiny surface? It actually is sticky. So I counted one, I harvested one, and then I count that 1, 2, then this larger one here, 3, and then there's one right here, 4, and then one back there, 5. And you can see the yellow on this one. So today I'm gonna test Yeni Dunya to see if this has to wait for the umbilical to completely dry out. Now you can see this has a decent amount of drying on it. It's in a much further along stage than those other Yeni Dunyas that I just showed. And of course, as expected, the tendril is dry on here. If I can find it right here. This is the tendril. That's in my hand. This is the tendril. So that's been dry for a good month now. This was one of the hand-pollinated Yeni Dunyas, so I hand-pollinated this one. That's number 4 and number 5 back here. Now this one has a heavily dried umbilical. It's even beginning to dry up here. where it's connected to the melon, so it's eventually going to release itself from the melon. Once that happens, I mean, it's guaranteed that it's going to be red on the inside. But basically, what I want is to be able to harvest this melon right before it releases itself. So I want to see the earliest that I can harvest it, and while having it at its ripest. But if we take a close look here, you can see how much drying is going on along that umbilical. That's a serious amount of drying. So I'm 100% confident this melon is ripe. All right, number 5. This is number 6. You can see I have them under grass. Once that umbilical starts showing dry marks, that's when I put them under grass. Because I don't want the watermelon temperatures to reach above 100 degrees as it does normally in my zone. So I'm in zone 9B, and you can see this has a decent amount of drying up under the umbilical. It doesn't have as much drying as that larger one that I just showed, but it has a decent amount. So I want to harvest this one and see how that looks on the inside. And this is this was number 6. That's number 7. And then I pulled off one that was it was a runt size. I could have left it, but that would have been 8. But I have 7 nice size ones, and then there's still plenty of female blooms coming along. So this is the one I'm gonna harvest. It should be room temperature right now. Well, it's 7:30 at night, but I mean my garden is in direct sun, so the melon would be hot if this grass wasn't right here. So it should be room temperature about now. I'm just gonna roll it over just to look at that umbilical. We can get a good look at that umbilical. All right. So different types of watermelons have different, and this is the tendril. Different types of watermelons have different stages where they harvest, whether they ripen early or late. So cream of Saskatchewan, I'll call that a late ripening one. And what I mean by late ripening, I don't mean a maturity date. I mean the timing of the umbilical drying. So some melons you can harvest them when the umbilical has a little bit of drying on it. Others you need to harvest it after the umbilical completely dries. As you can see, this one isn't completely dry, but the cream of Saskatchewan that I harvested yesterday was a little bit ways along than what this umbilical here is on this Yeni Dunya. But I just want to test this Yeni Dunya, and I just want to see how early it is. So first, I want to see if this umbilical releases itself easily, since now that it started forming dry marks, which I doubt it will. It's not. It's definitely not. Okay, it's definitely not. So I wonder how red it's going to be on the inside. It's not coming off. So this is one thing you don't want to do, is force a melon off the vine, and I'm going to show you why. It's not going to be complete red. See that had to be forced off. So this isn't going to be a complete red, and it's not going to be all the way sweet. If anything, it might be just red in the middle of it. Let's see. So I chose a smaller one to do this with, but this is still about a 5 to 8 pound melon. It's probably about 5 pounds. Let's get my materials out. So I'm holding this camera with one hand, so I'm gonna have to cut it open with one hand. Pour some water on there, wipe it off. Okay. Well, I'm not expecting this to be full red at all, but I'm hoping that it has a decent amount of redness in it. As I said, this is basically just a test to see when I need to pull Yeni Dunya from the vine, or if I need to wait until the umbilical completely dries out. So the melon is soft, and I'm cutting through it, so it can't be ripe. Definitely can't be. That's why you wait until that umbilical dries out. Okay. So now for all my watermelons, I'm basically gonna wait for that umbilical to completely dry out, and then I'll know that the watermelon is ready. All right, guys. Let me give it a taste test. It's sweet, it just wasn't ready. All right, so that's Yeni Dunya watermelon. I didn't hand pollinate this one, so I'm not gonna save the seeds from it. But basically, you don't want to waste your melons. So I hope that me wasting this melon will prevent or save you from wasting melons in the future, guys. Please wait for that umbilical to completely dry out, and I'll once again show it. So this is the umbilical that I just harvested. You seen the amount of effort that I actually had to put forth to remove it from the vine. If you have to fight it, it's not its ripest. That's what it's a phrase that I coined myself last year. If you have to fight it, it's not its ripest. So this one won't come off. And this one back here won't come off either. I'm gonna let this one, I'm gonna let all my varieties. So I have 103 watermelon varieties, 103 heirloom watermelon varieties. And I'm gonna just begin to let all of them, I'm gonna allow them to let their umbilicals dry completely, and then I'll harvest them from now on. All right, so just like how blueberries, you have to wait for it to dry and then it comes right off. Blackberries, any type of berries, and most fruits, you basically need this. You need this umbilical to dry, and then it will remove itself. The same with cantaloupes also. They call it full slip. Well, watermelons need to be harvested at full slip also, and we see why, because I just showed you directly. If somebody tells you, you know, harvest when the tendril dries and all this, tell them it's bull, because Steve showed you. Tell them Steve showed you that it's bull. Okay, guys? So that's a dry tendril. And if I cut that open, we see how it's gonna look. It's gonna be redder than that other one, believe me. It's gonna be redder, because this one is, judging by that dry patch, is at least six times more long. So yeah, judging by that dry patch, it's at least 6 times more long. So it should be 6 times redder than this. So I expect that large one to be red all the way out to here at least. But it's probably still not reaching the rind yet. Once it dries where it was connected to the melon right here, once that completely dries and it removes itself, it's a ripe melon, guys. So that's how you harvest the ripe watermelon. And that's what happened with this cream of Saskatchewan yesterday. This one right here, I harvested it when it was a decent ways along, but it still hadn't developed that sugar content yet. This is the cream of Saskatchewan's umbilical that I harvested yesterday. So you need this to dry all the way out, at least 75%. Okay. Y'all have a good one.